Special thank you to my patrons for helping make this video happen. In 2021, IMG Academy would, in front of millions on ESPN, play a high school that did not exist. The Bishop Sycamore Centurions, representing the non-existent Bishop Sycamore Prep School, would somehow land a nationally televised game with one of the most recognizable prep schools in the country, while providing little to no information to ESPN and their opponents about their supposed institution. What followed was a predictable blowout, a number of questions into ESPN's vetting process, an investigation into the Centurions, and many stories, videos, and memes made of BS High. What's forgotten, though, is that this practice is not wholly unique to Bishop Sycamore, but actually predates their founding and their subsequent game with IMG. A practice that can be traced back to a college football team that also did not exist. We begin with a college football team that very much exists, the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils, a Division I AA program best known as the school Jerry Rice played his college ball at. In the early 90s, another notable player would join the Devils, linebacker Sherwin Thomas. He was not a generational athlete. In fact, he would spend most of his time in the Valley on the practice team, where he would eventually leave the team due to a lack of playing time. But where he lacked in Division I athleticism, he made up for in sheer love for the sport, a love that would follow him past Mississippi Valley State and into his post-college ventures. Thomas began in coaching, picking up a number of assistant gigs at high schools across Memphis while working a variety of odd jobs to make the money work, notably becoming a street preacher and launching his own church across the 2000s. His career in athletics would culminate in 2009, where he assisted in the football and basketball programs of a small Christian film school in Memphis, Shepherd Technical College. Now, documentation of their football program during their 3 years of existence, like with many tiny colleges, is scarce, but in all likelihood, the Eagles never won a single game. And if their documented games are any indication, they likely never got close. For instance, in a game against the Division II Harding Bisons, they'd not only lose 75-0, not only give up more than 500 yards of combined offense, but they'd rush for less than a single yard the entire game. That same year, in 2011, Shepherd Tech would close its doors, bringing its athletic department down with it. Freshly unemployed and looking for a team to coach, Sherwin Thomas had an idea. Why rely on another athletic department when you could simply make your own? Enter the College of Faith. The College of Faith, founded shortly after Thomas's tenure with the Eagles, is a confusing concept. It is not exactly a college. It offers nothing in a non-religious education. It offers little in a religious education. It has, at times, rented out offices to use as makeshift lecture halls. Assignments are scarce. Educational prerequisites are non-existent, and it was all founded by Sherwin Thomas with $250 and a fair amount of paperwork. It's not necessarily unique. There's a number of these tiny Bible schools across the country, especially in the South, and most are comparable to a sort of trade school for Christian preaching. What is unique about the College of Faith, though, is their sponsorship of an athletics program, offering both football and basketball, belonging to no official intercollegiate athletics association. Thomas had made in West Memphis a phantom team, the closest thing to a fake college football team as you can get while still technically fielding a team. His debut roster would be made up of a hodgepodge of former Shepherd Tech players, former small college players like go by their respective teams, and anyone else they could find who'd be willing to join the College of Faith. 2012 would mark the Mighty Believers' first game, and it went about as well as you would expect. Adorned in borrowed jerseys, donning the name of another mascot, Sherwin Thomas's team faced off against the Arkansas Monticello Boll Weevils, a bad Division II team that finished the 2012 season going 1-10, losing by an average of 23 points per game. Their lone win would be against the College of Faith, breaking their conference's single game point record in a 78-0 win. Their second game would be canceled due to concerns regarding the College of Faith's legitimacy, going on to face the now defunct Concordia College Alabama Hornets, reaching the end zone for the first time in program history in a 48-6 loss. It's during this game where they'd switch their nickname from the Mighty Believers to the Wildcats, a decision they'd reverse by the end of the season. Their uniforms were just as confused as their nickname, with a spectator of one of their games taking note of their jerseys having, quote, varying shades of maroon paired with their helmets adorning, quote, various shades of gold. It was really the saddest thing I had ever seen. The game said spectators attended was against the Division II West Alabama Tigers, a game the Wildcats would trail 59-0 going into halftime, at which point the remaining quarters were shortened and starters were pulled. Eventually, the 2012 season would come to an end, and as soon as it began, the College of Faith's football program would end, in Memphis at least. Shortly after the season ended, a high school coach out of Charlotte, North Carolina would propose to both move the team out east and assist in building up the young program, a proposal Sherwin Thomas would accept. The basketball program would remain in Memphis, but the football team would from here on out belong to a brand new College of Faith campus, in quotes, in Charlotte. The newly rebranded Saints would begin play in 2013, where they'd actually pull out a win. Their opponent was the North Georgia Sports Academy, a similarly dubious online school with a football team. But outside of the end result, little is actually known of the game itself. The score, the stats, even basic information about the matchup, none can be recalled from either the Saints or Mountaineers. It might very well be the only win in the entire history of the College of Faith, and yet it might as well have never happened. Their other games against actual colleges went about as well as they had in 2012, losing to 4 Division II teams and 1 NAIA team by a combined score of 282-0, losing by an average of 56-0 per game. Despite the generational beatdowns the Saints/Wildcats/Mighty Believers had taken over the course of 2 years, very few noticed as the College of Faith journeyed across college football's forgotten underbelly, playing teams very few outside of their respective towns have ever heard of. That would change in 2014. The Davidson Wildcats are far from the largest brand in college athletics, but the Division I AA team does carry a fair amount of notoriety, either from other larger FCS fan bases or, more likely, from their basketball program's Cinderella run in the 2008 NCAA tournament. All of this to say, people have heard of the Davidson Wildcats, and in 2014, they would also know the College of Faith Saints. For the first time in program history, the Saints would play a Division I school, with Davidson agreeing to the game, assuming they were helping a small local team get their feet under them. They donated equipment, pants, and food. They covered transportation costs, paid an undisclosed amount of money for the bye game, and by the second quarter, they had already pulled their starters. By the half, they were up by nearly 50, and by the third, they were barely executing their offense. Davidson won 56-0, but it hardly felt like a victory. This was the most embarrassing shit ever. We were bad last year, but us players were still pissed we scheduled these guys, quoted one Davidson player. I'd actually lose my mind if we had to play those guys again. The Saints were hopelessly outmatched, even more so than nearly every other game they've ever played, and one of the few that could line up against their Division I AA foe spent the game trying to be recruited. Soon after, the College of Faith grew once again, this time under the helm of Anthony Givens, brother of Houston Oilers receiver Ernest Givens, who reached out to Thomas to begin another branch of the college in St. Petersburg, Florida. After a dinner at Chili's, Givens had his college football team, named the Glory Eagles after the Philadelphia Eagles, his favorite NFL team. They would have slightly more success, losing the same amount of games while actually being able to score in a number of them. Thomas, meanwhile, would leave the Charlotte branch to be completely run by their head coach while he restarted the football program in Memphis, resulting in 3 entirely separate College of Faith teams to operate at the exact same time, all with little to no contact between the 3 branches. The notoriety the schools had built across 2014 would soon lead to a number of articles being written about the supposed college, and little to none were especially positive. The schools themselves had little to no educational value, even in the limited scope of religious study. The programs lacked proper conditioning for their athletes, and when injuries inevitably cropped up, the program lacked the ability to cover medical expenses. Every school required tuition, with the Memphis school reporting a cost of about $2,500 in annual fees, on top of the hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars made through scheduling superior opponents. In short, being paid to lose. The notoriety would not just bring scrutiny from sports writers, but the NCAA as well. Before them was, seemingly, an institution hiding behind the relative lack of oversight Bible colleges get from the state and federal government to create a fake college to have an athletics program, either for, in their words, to give people the opportunity to play college athletics, or for financial gain, with either harming the integrity of intercollegiate athletics. The NCAA's decision on the matter would come in the form of a list of 32 schools deemed as, quote, non-countable opponents. In other words, teams whose games and the stats in said games could not be counted in official NCAA record books. All 3 College of Faith schools made the list, and there was no longer any reason for a school to schedule them. The programs would continue afterwards. Some larger schools would even keep their scheduled games on their respective schedules, but the decision would seemingly force the trio of programs back into the unseen underbelly of college athletics to, eventually, fade away. Past 2015, information gets scarce about the College of Faith. Its official website is now only accessible through the Wayback Machine. Their Facebook hasn't posted since 2019. And the last game the Memphis branch seems to have played was in 2016, losing to the Davenport Panthers 32-0. Maybe the money dried up after the NCAA's ruling. Maybe there was never much money in it to begin with. And the program was an honest attempt at giving people a second chance at a college football career. Whatever the motivation or the reasoning behind their apparent disappearance, what remains is one of the most fascinating football programs in the history of college athletics. A phantom team who came from nothing and ultimately returned to nothing, phasing in and out of the periphery of intercollegiate sports. I'd like to, again, thank my patrons: Colin Northrup, Zach, Sock, Ryan Brandenburg, Aura, Jake Hagman, Shane Bailey, Mantis Toboggan, Captain Coey, The King of War 541, William L. Jagnow, Aiden Wong, Yeah Avenue, Ryan Liu, Authentic Sims, Joe Sports 2022, Lance Justice, Class Jackson Lawsuit, Hoppe, October Rust 02, Justin Pedraza, Cole, Nick Knudsen, Lurker, Trash Can Gus, Ease.L, Spicy Babe, The Erupturotan, Adrian Genge, Deatheros, Sean McWilliams, CC, The Hidden Source, Bradley Moore, at Signwood, Scarface 1, Mega Doomer, Philip, and Crosley Jones. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see y'all in the next video.